Hello everybody, my name is Ragnar, and before I start I want to say that this is an off-topic episode I decided to record spontaneously because I had this on my mind and wanted to get my opinion out there. This is just unscripted monologue with no fancy editing and just a little gameplay footage in the background. That said, let's talk about Alien Isolation and the gaming press. The game has been out for about a week now and I finished it just recently and wanted to give a short commentary about the very diverse ratings from gaming magazines, websites and reviewers. The range of scores this game received couldn't be any wider, from 93 out of 100 points from PC Gamer down to 59 points from IGN. You can find about any score in between that range. Now that got me thinking. While everyone canonically agrees about the outstanding atmospheric and stylish visual and acoustic presentation that seems like it's been taken directly from Ridley Scott's first Alien movie, we don't need to talk about that, it's outstanding. And the main disagreement seems to be about the enemy AI, especially the one of the xenomorph, being totally unpredictable. For many reviewers, this seems to make the game unfair, leading to completely unpredictable deaths and a very high level of frustration. I've also read in a few articles that players get the impression that the xenomorph AI seems to cheat and that it feels totally random where the alien will come out the next time. And that this makes it impossible to learn and adapt for your next run because it, is just unpredictable. Now, I can only talk about how I perceived this during my playthrough. The game takes a lot of suspenseful time before you get your first deadly encounter with other survivors and the alien itself, but as soon as you are off against the alien, you instantly know that this one is gonna be different. While the animations and effects always look very smooth and deliberate, you rarely get the impression that what you experience is just a mere scripted sequence. Ever since Half-Life or Call of Duty, we have been literally bombarded with first or third-person shooters that are packed with scripted sequences, and although this made for some great show here and there, the more you played those games, the more you developed a sense for what was scripted and what was not, and that takes away a lot of the purpose. I gotta say, I've died quite a few times in this game, and the fact that lots of the save points are quite far from each other makes dying really frustrating. But, and I had my eye on this one, I never ever experienced one situation where it felt like it was cheating. It felt unfair at times, yes, but I personally believe that an encounter with an 8-foot predator from outer space should never ever feel like you're actually being in control. And this is, for me, honestly the best part about this game. You can hear reviewers often bitch about games having a bad, predictable AI, and in the end, most games' artificial intelligence is very cheap and predictable. And that's because it's necessary if the game designers want the gameplay to follow certain rules that the player can learn and use to his own advantage. Isolation breaks not only with that, but also with a lot of other typical genre conventions. For example, we are used to enemies in stealth games following certain paths and walk patterns that we can observe from the shadows and overcome the situation like a puzzle. And while that can be quite fun, this game goes for a different approach. The enemies practically never go the same path twice. You can never be 100% sure what they'll be doing next. And I've also heard that being criticized, but come on. I mean, there's a space station where everything has gone to shit, people killing each other for no apparent reasons, and a bloodthirsty xenomorph is haunting the place. If you were in that place, would you go in circles for hours? Another thing is, in most games nowadays, a melee takedown is always 100% silent. Like when you stab someone from behind or bash his brains in, people who are only 10 feet away won't notice anything, and we accept that and got used to that. I gotta say that I was surprised, but Alien Isolation also breaks with that trope. In the beginning, you only have a jackhammer, and when I snuck up on a guy and took him down, his colleagues who were like 50 feet away on the other side of a big entry hall still heard it and went nuts. I haven't bashed anybody's brains in during my lifetime, and I sincerely hope I'll never have to, but something tells me that in real life, this probably won't be a silent takedown. Alien Isolation is a very long experience. It took me about 14 hours to complete the game on hard mode, and the problem with most longer survival horror games is that they lose a lot of their scare factor once you really learn the patterns in which the enemies behave. After a while, it's just not that frightening anymore, because you know that when this type of enemy does this and that, he will probably turn around next and you can slip past him or what else. This game never gets to the point where you feel like you're above your enemy. In my last video about horror games, I've said that good survival horror titles are about helplessness and disempowerment. And this is really where the game shines, as it manages to keep that feeling up for the entire campaign. Even later in the game, I still felt my heart beating when I knew the xenomorph was near, and I was always forced to use situational awareness and closely observe my surroundings, even when I retried a checkpoint for the 10th time, because, and that is something players are just not used to, your enemy is using the same sense of situational awareness against you. And there were so many situations where I really felt like I had outsmarted my enemies. For example, when you know the alien is near and on your trail and there is also a bunch of survivors that is out for your blood, you throw a torch into the group and thereby make the xenomorph come out and turn those guys to pulp. Situations like these are so satisfying, and the game offers you a lot of possibilities to outwit your enemies in these ways. It's exciting and fresh, and I loved it. Now, in a wider sense, this shows how wrecked our score-based review system nowadays is. We measure games blatantly with a score that says, "This game is so good and that's why it's better than this game which is 3 points less." It's a close-minded way to look at video games. It made sense in the early days of gaming, when games were just electronic toys and the main motivation for playing a game was playing a game. Different genres and primary motivations for games were not really a thing, but nowadays video games are better described as interactive experiences. People play games for different reasons. For example, Alien Isolation received a Metacritic score of 80, whereas a game like The Sims received a Metascore of 90. This would imply that the latter is the better game, but for me personally, Alien Isolation was much closer to what I expect a great interactive experience to be like than The Sims 2. For other persons, it's likely to be the other way around. This score-based review system is an archaic method in an evolved gaming world. Wouldn't reviews be better if they were like, if you like these games and you can live with an unpolished UX, this game will rock your world, but if you're the kind of player that likes to be taken by the hand, better keep away from it. Let me try it for Alien Isolation, because I won't go down that road and attempt to give the game a score. If you like frightening, disempowering survival horror games that encourage situational awareness and that come with a high level of frustration, and especially if you're a fan of the original Alien movies, and if you've got the nerves to bite through something that never truly lets you get on top of it by simply learning dull patterns, I highly recommend this game for you. If you rather prefer a game that takes you by the hand and goes easy on you, if frustration, backtracking and meaningful death is something that puts you off, you might be disappointed by this game. Which would be sad, because it was one of the atmospherically most intense games I've played in years. I've had a great time playing it, which doesn't mean you will, but if what I said caught your attention, I'd say it's definitely worth giving a shot. Oh, one last thing. If you happen to possess the Oculus Rift dev kit, there's an easy fix on the internet that makes the game playable with the Rift. Seriously, do it. It's unbelievable. Alright then, that's just what I wanted to get off my chest. The next upload is gonna be a regular episode again. So if you haven't seen it yet, make sure to watch my latest video where I talk about why we actually enjoy being scared in video games, explained with science and shit. It kind of fits the topic, don't you think? So until then, thanks for watching, or rather, thanks for listening. Ragnar signing off.